Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it. You already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye up, bye up. Let's get straight to that intro. Welcome back to the channel, and if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that I stay kicking, and I highly appreciate the support, man. I'm very humbled by it. So what's man, hey, you know when it stinks? Usually when it stinks, that means there's shit around. And right now, this guy is in a pile of shit, and it just got stinkier, right? It got stunkier, not spunkier. It's bad for this guy. Like, for those who haven't been keeping up with the Wes Watson downfall, the saga, the trials, the cases, the tribulations, the calling of the fucking, I don't know what you want to call it, the calling of the changing of guard of Wes Watson, right? The calling of the Yin Yang twins, or excuse me, the Yang Ying twins, the fucking Island Boys, right? All these different things that Wes Watson has been doing, but somehow, some way, he got himself in gradually got himself involved in more shit. And so, look, there's been videos put out. I put out a video. Several others have, that there was one particular group in Florida, a prison gang, right? A prison organization in the state of Florida that was really looking into the Wes Watson business, meaning that they wanted to give Wes Watson the business. Now, nobody knows if it's true. It's just rumors. It's hearsay, right? There's going to be a lot of people, if Wes Watson is assaulted, hurt, or something happens to him that takes credit for that. I did that. I got that, right? They're going to do that. But with Wes Watson, it's like he's talked so much shit, disrespected so many people, has disrespected the state of Florida on numerous occasions, that he is a walking target, okay? He is one of those guys that is considered a trophy. What does that mean? That means there's guys that go to prison, go to the county jail, who are just so boisterous, outlandish, loud. They make themselves targets by things that they've said, people they've disrespected, things they've spoken on, right? And it's unfortunate. It really is, because a guy will feel big, bad, brave when they're on the streets, when they're on social media talking all that shit. But as soon as they get behind those walls, that razor wire and those gates, reality sets in. You can't run. There's nowhere to hide. Okay, now look, I don't know about you, but I know there's still a lot of supporters of Wes Watson, and there's a lot of people that believe his GP penitentiary living is going to continue, that he's going to continue to be in the general population, that he's going to continue to rock and beat people up all along his path and his journey through county jail into prison. But I'm here to tell you, dudes from out of state, usually that go to different prisons, are going to get chin checked. They're going to get tested, right? And especially if you're someone like Wes Watson, who feels like he's indestructible, who feels like he's a fucking superhero, who feels like he can't be touched. Well, those are the first ones that you're going to hear crying up under their wool blanket. Itchy, pero warm, right? It's going to be all bad. And so there's been rumors that were put out that a certain white group, right, known as the Unforgiven, had a green light out on Wes Watson. Now, I don't know that to be true. I'm not trying to spoil the party. But that story was put out several times by several different people. And usually when a lot of different people are getting the same information, that could kind of mean there's some truth to it, right? Now, that doesn't mean that this particular group is going to be the first ones to get at Wes Watson, or they're even going to be put in close plex. I can't even say things this morning. Wes got it fucked. He's so fucked, I feel fucked, right? But they're not going to put him in close proximity to these guys, allegedly. Now, I'm sure, just like we all know, he knows. And he can shout and yell and do all the burpees he wants and eat all the peanut butter packets that he got. But at the end of the Peter Pepper, right? But at the end of the day, Wes Watson has to face the realities of county jail and prison. And there's a whole lot of guys mad at him for whatever the reasons may be. Now, if that group, the Unforgiven, does have a bone to pick with Wes Watson, and I've heard stories, and I can give you guys the background story. on the particular situation. But if they do have an issue with them, more than likely they will run into them and something bad will happen. Now, will Wes Watson defend himself? Will he handle his business? Will he roll it up off the GPR? One never knows, does one? Who knows? When it comes to Wes Watson, you know, he's proven he'll fight. He's proven he's got a big fucking mouth. He's proven he's pretty aggressive when it comes to women, right? Hey, he's even aggressive when it comes to 6 or 7 foot black men, right? So Wes Watson definitely will fight. The thing is, how do you fight knives? How do you fight a lot of different dudes coming from a lot of different directions? Because usually when you're dealing with prison gangs or you're dealing with a removal or a prison hit or a stabbing, you're not going to see it coming. It's going to come from your blind side and then you're going to be blind. Okay, so that's just how fast that goes. But now I'm hearing a rumor of another group, another prison gang that have actually issued a green light out on Wes or want some smoke with Wes Watson because of the person that he jumped, the 7-foot monster, being that he was a black man, and because there were some derogatory racist statements made while that assault was occurring. And that's a group called SMM24K. They're out of Central Florida, right? It's a black prison gang that are pretty well known and pretty dangerous in the system of Florida from what I'm hearing, right? If that's the case, Wes Watson can't go to the black pods. He can't go to the white pods. Look, man, I know he's always said the SA's got love for him and respect, but I believe that there's going to be a lot of Mexicans that are like, no, ¿por qué no? Este pinche gaba. Like, they're not going to want to deal with them. I don't know how deep the Southerners are in Florida, the Southsiders or the Northerners, or if there are any in the Florida prisons. I'm sure there's Southerners in the Florida prison system. They're worldwide, right? And Northerners, as far as from what I'm hearing. But I don't know how deep they are, if they got their own arrangements, their own pods, their own sections, how that goes, right? I don't know the politics of Florida. What I do know is they got an extensive amount of white men and especially black guys. And this one gang, the SMM24Ks, are pretty dangerous and deep from what I'm hearing and got a lot of influence within the Florida prison system. Now, if they have really taken a light to fucking Wes Watson, he is in more trouble than he suspects, right? Because that's, you know, it's kind of a messed up situation when you're out on the streets. You're thinking, you don't play that black and white issue, that black and brown, that brown and white. You know, them racial issues get left at the prison door, especially in California. There's a lot of guys that go in that are not, they ain't got a racial bone in their body. Don't play that shit, right? And all of a sudden, because their group moves against another group, it becomes a racial thing, a racial right on the yard. Now you're forever looked at by certain individuals as participating in that. And, you know, real gangsters will be like, look, he's just with his people. Doesn't mean he's racial. He just had a rock with his people. Okay, that's just like a black. I know a lot of people are like, the brothers can't be racial, right? But if blacks are going to go and all the blacks decide to go, Crips, Bloods, non-affiliates, Kumis, Muslims, everything, if they decide to go against a certain group, right? Does that make it a racial thing? No, that just means that they're black, they're proud, and they're doing their thing. And I would think the same thing goes for the whites, but they get that label of it's a racial thing, and they're doing it because people are of the opposite skin color, right? Or a different pigmentation of skin. I don't know. You know, that's up to the individual to decipher. I've been involved in prison things, melees, and little events, and especially in the youth authority. And I could tell you, man, there was a lot of racial tension that did go on, but more so than anything, it was gangs and it was just disrespect and individualisms. That's really what it was. But Florida's a different animal, right? Most of those guys that get out of prison in California, they leave that shit at the door. They go back. The white dudes go back to bumping Mac Dre, right? A lot of them do. Some get turned out. Not turned out in a weird way, but turned out to the point where they went in there and they might have been bumping Tupac. That might have been the cassette in their Walkman the day they got booked, right? The day they got locked up. And when they get out, they're heavy on the Slayer. We're not gonna take it. The motherfucker went in there like, hey, I'm in the building and I'm feeling myself. That motherfucker got out like, right, brother, right? It happens all the time, and it's just that influence. You know, you never know the man you're going to become until you're forced to become that man. Real game, real knowledge you can't get in college, right? So in Wes Watson's case, he's one of those type of individuals. riding on the Range Rover or the Escalade or whatever it was he fucking lied about, on gold Daytons and rims, right? Cruising around with beat in his car, like he said, all these women he had, bumping the Mac Dre's and the Kid Frost. This for La Raza, right? Bumping, doing all this. And then as soon as he becomes incarcerated, locked up for the 10-year bid, which he actually did 7 on, right? But it, give or take a few years, he got with the Wood program. So with that being said, I'm sure he was in there bumping Judas Priest. Okay? That dude was a major, major Rob Halford fan. I think that's his name. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or is it John Halford, Rob Halford, one of those fucking dudes? All I know is him and Freddie Mercury had a relationship. Anyways, next thing you know, Wes Watson gets out and he's right to the Ricky Rosses, to the Kevin Gates, to the Island Boys, right? This is the type of music that he transitioned to because he went back to being the person he was outside of prison. But a lot of those tendencies that he had stuck with him, like the racial derogatory terms that he spewed out of his mouth while he was kicking that 7-foot monster when he was on the ground. If you guys didn't hear the N-word, then you're deaf. Ray Charles is blind and you're deaf, okay? Because I heard it. I heard him say the N-word pretty loud. And I know there's people that defended it. Well, it was just in the heat of battle. Well, you know, how would you feel if I said it right now? Motherfuckers would be mad at me, right? I wouldn't say it, but the fact is, he did. So to me, he took a little bit of what he learned in the California prison system and people he was around that felt that type of way. And I'm sure not everybody felt that type of way, but they did. And he took that little morsel of fucking information and he regurgitated it. Now, the brothers is mad. It hit the brothers hotline, right? Hit the brother hotline. And let me tell you right now, once it hit the brother hotline, man, they're mad. They're upset. Now, there's going to be people in the comments that say, oh, they're not going to do nothing. Look, man, you better do your history on this SSM 24K group. They're pretty dangerous. They're known to do prison hits, known to be very well coordinated, thought out. And you know, when I think about the black organizations in California, I know, you know, a lot of them may not seem as political as others may think, and that's just because there's different politics. But the brothers deal with their own. There was just a murder in Delano, I think it was over the weekend, where one brother wasn't alive. Now, I don't know what it was over. It could have just been two cellies. They arrested the one cellie about the cell, got him out of there. The other one, you know, he succumbed to his injuries. And it could have been just a celly fight, but it was 2 brothers, man. So there's a lot of people, oh, man, the brothers ain't kicking up no dust in prison. They ain't doing nothing like that. Yeah, they might not be stabbing everyone left and right, but they're stabbing people. They're doing their thing. Don't sleep on it. And they're pretty well thought out and organized when they do their thing, when they choose to, right? The last thing you want to see is 100 brothers running at you with knives, battery packs, and bad intentions, malicious intentions, right? That's not a good sight to see. Any group. So Wes Watson, by doing what he did, obviously he made this group mad. So now he's in Florida in their system where they're homegrown. This is not a gang that was developed in California and came out to Florida. This is not a gang that was created off the theory of some other guy in New York or California or Atlanta or anything like that, or Texas. This is a group that is formed, a product of their environment, homegrown in Central Florida, right? And they are pretty deep in the system, and they do not like Wes Watson because they figure Wes Watson is overstaying his welcome in Florida. Well, guess what? He might overstay a little bit longer, because if Wes Watson is convicted of these crimes that he's fighting and facing, then he's looking at some years in prison. A lot of people seem to think that he's probably going to get 10 to 15 in prison based on his case factors, based on his history, based on his C file, all that different things that come into play. Witnesses' testimony, probably CIs that were there that are going to testify against him. You know, again, they don't need this woman to say anything who he allegedly beat up, man. All they need is statements, which they already got, and the district attorney is pushing it. As far as the other case goes, it's his word against Wes's, plus the cameras, plus the other guys that were there, plus the ground that's saying he said the N-word. It's all bad, right? So Wes Watson has a very uphill battle to climb. And downhill, there's 2 groups waiting on him, the black and the white group. It's not like he can go to the woods like, brothers, I apologize, right? Because let me give you a little back history from what I heard. Again, this is speculation and rumors, and I'm only putting it out there for the context of content, right? Wes Watson, while he was doing his YouTube channel, you know, at first he was the new thing, the new kid on the block. Everybody was watching him. Pigeons were shitting on his head as he was sitting right there in that park bench in San Diego. And he was telling his stories. And as he got more trend out and swoller, his and balder, right? And bearder. As all these things started to change with him, he got a little bit of money in his life. He started getting a little bit more looser with the lips. He started to mention names of guys he was previously incarcerated with, and started to tell stories that were never out there, stories that could get people caught up that were still locked up at the particular time in them same cells that he was at, in them same yards, right? And in doing so, a couple of the guys, one I know for a fact, got shot down at board, right behind a Wes Watson video and allegations. And I believe another guy he was placed on an indictment, right? Now, whether that was Wes Watson's fault or not, I have no idea. But that was the word circulating. If you guys remember, there used to be a content creator, and I think he still might do content. It just never pops up for me. It was Splinter from Bakersfield, you know, who was a skin, a wood, and he was pretty upset. He had gotten a letter. I think he read it out where Wes Watson's name was mentioned, if I'm correct, right? And people were upset in the California prison system with Wes Watson. The Woods were. So that means all these guys that, oh, he's GPs. Always, if Wes Watson ever went back to the California prison system, he's not going to be held in high regards. He's not going to be embraced by the Woods. They're pretty upset with them. Pretty upset, right? And even more so, I'm sure, upset with all this money that he's making, and he's not kicking into the fellas or kicking back. You know, looking out for the people who gave him peanut butter when he had none, right? And so in doing so, there's a group in Florida called the Unforgiven. And they have close ties and association with California, Woods in California, and whoever else, right? And I think that they feel like, you know, Wes Watson's not going to escape that scraping. So by him moving to Florida and getting caught up in their prison system, where they are the predominant white group, one of them, right? You know, they're going to go ahead and on behalf of California, hold Wes Watson accountable. That's the rumors. Okay, I'm not trying to say this group is hunting him and they're going to do that. I don't know for sure. I wouldn't want to fucking put myself in the situation that he's in. But I'm saying that's the rumors, the speculation and the rumors circulating. And with that being said, I'm sure Wes Watson's nervous. He may make phone calls to Jack Doherty and to the Island Boys and play it off like he's tough and he's cool. But really in the back of his mind, he has to be concerned just a little bit. I know I would be. Like, damn, man. I can't kick it with the Woods no more. They ain't fucking with me. And these dudes out here don't know me. And based on he's got this San Diego all over him, he's repping California. You know, I'm gonna be real, man. There's a lot of states that hate California. I'm not gonna say hate on, but they hate California. They think dudes from California are arrogant, and dudes from California think that they're the mecca of everything when it comes to gangs. There's a lot of dudes that just have a distaste in their mouth for California. It's not that they hate them. They just don't really care for them, right? They don't like them. They think dudes from California think they're better than everyone else because that's where a lot of the gangs originated, right? As far as Crips and Bloods, North and South and stuff like that. There's other gangs in New York and Detroit and Chicago that have been around just as long, 100 years, right? But Wes Watson representing all this California all over, man, he's going into a Florida system where dudes might not like him based off of that. So if the Unforgiven wants to get him, he can't go hang out with the Woods. And now what would be his only place to turn? To have association with the brothers, right? Well, if SSM have put a green light on him, then he definitely better watch out because they're young, they're rowdy. We're talking about young black brothers, man, that are in that motherfucker kicking up dust in the Florida system. Wes Watson's in trouble. Again, this is just something that was put out there on the wire. I don't know if, in fact, this is going to happen to Wes, but he needs to really honestly evaluate his life right now, man. Turn to the Lord or something. He needs help. You know what I'm saying? Hey, he needs red light, not green light. That was good. What does red light mean? Don't come out that cell, buddy. Right? Because black, whites, man, that's too much. And I know, oh, well, the essays got my back. I'm sure the essays are like, fuck you. And all those tattoos all over you. Right? They're not tripping. Anyways, with that being said, I just want to put out that information. Does a new prison gang in Florida have a green light on Wes Watson? I guess, man, unfortunately, he's just going to have to wait and see. And then we'll talk about it. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm gonna continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly and honestly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. This video right here is sponsored by Barrio Liquors in Turlock, California. If you're in the Central Valley in the 209 area, pull up to the Barrio and get you something cold to drink. Also by Sticks and Stones Yard Service in Tucson, Arizona. If you have just moved or you live in the Tucson area and you need a smooth, cool estimate on your yard work, make sure that you hit up Sticks and Stones Yard Service. Look out for your small local raza businesses. Thank you. This is The Gun. Bang, bang.